I either win or I learn. Friend, that is the publishing journey in one sentence, because every pitch you send, every manuscript you submit, every 15-minute appointment you take with an editor at a conference, it's either a win or a lesson. There's no losing, not if you're paying attention. And really, the only way to fail is to quit. Hey everyone, it's Alice. Welcome back to your Write Life Coach, the podcast for heart-led authors who are ready for motivation and momentum. I'm your original Write Life Coach, and I'm so glad you're here today. I want to ask you something right off the bat. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, if this book doesn't work out, I'm done? If this pitch doesn't land, that's it for me? Or if this doesn't happen now, is it ever going to happen? Yeah, I thought so. I've had those thoughts too. So today I want to talk about something I believe to my core is one of the most underrated strategies in all of publishing. Not a marketing tactic, not a launch formula, a mindset shift, maybe even a complete brain makeover. I want to talk about the difference between short-term thinking and long-term thinking, and why the authors who build careers that last are almost always playing a completely different game than the ones who burn out trying to squeeze success out of every single moment. So be here with me. This one might just change everything. I want to tell you about two authors. The first one came to me several years ago. His writing was okay, but it lacked real voice on the page. I suggested he work on his craft, develop his story more, and as I always advise, write a book proposal. But he was in a hurry, and I mean a big hurry. He wanted his book published. He wanted it done, and he wanted it done now. I encouraged him to slow down, to take some preliminary steps before I could provide any editing. I told him as gently as I could that I didn't think he was ready yet. He did not want to hear that. So he self-published. He got his novel out fast, assuming that having it on Amazon would attract readers. And then, and I still shake my head at this, he emailed me and asked if I would write him a 5-star review on Amazon. Ugh. I declined as politely as I could, but the whole situation broke my heart a little because I could see exactly what was happening. I totally saw it coming. He was so focused on the destination that he skipped the journey. He was so locked into now or never that he couldn't see what slowing down could do for him. That is short-term thinking. Now let me tell you about the second author. Robin Jones Gunn didn't set out to be a best-selling author. She was a Sunday school teacher who noticed something troubling. The girls in her class were reading romance novels that didn't reflect their values. When Robin said, you really should be reading something more wholesome, those girls spoke up and said, but there aren't any out there. You tell good stories, so why don't you write one? Robin wasn't chasing a book deal. She wasn't trying to become famous. She was trying to protect the tender hearts of the girls sitting in front of her on Sunday mornings. She was looking to serve, not to be seen. Her first book in the Christy Miller series was published in 1988. Now, 37 years later, that series is still in print, still reaching hearts, still changing lives. In fact, the girls that read those books all those years ago have begun sharing them with their own daughters. Talk about legacy. That is long-term thinking. So two authors, two completely different approaches, and two completely different outcomes. Which one do you want to be? Here's what I've noticed in writers I've met over the years. The ones who struggle the most are almost always operating from a now or never mindset. And it makes sense. Publishing is slow, the pressure is real, and the voices in your head can be relentless. But that now or never pressure is the very thing that leads people to make decisions they wouldn't otherwise make. Ditching the idea of writing a book proposal, rushing past editorial feedback, skipping the hard work of craft, burning bridges with agents or editors over a single rejection, publishing before they're ready, and worse, not listening to their potential readers. Short-term thinking costs you the long game. Nelson Mandela, not a publishing expert, but one of the most brilliant long-term thinkers who ever lived, once said, "I never lose. I either win or I learn. Let that sink in. I either win or I learn. Friend, that is the publishing journey in one sentence, because every pitch you send, every manuscript you submit, every 15-minute appointment you take with an editor at a conference, it's either a win or a lesson. There's no losing, not if you're paying attention. And really, the only way to fail is to quit. So let me give you 3 things to hold on to. 3 qualities that I've seen again and again in authors who build something that lasts. I call them the 3 Ps: patience, persistence, and positivity. Let's start with patience. Patience with yourself, patience with your craft, patience with the industry. I know this may not be what you want to hear, but publishing has a long timeline, and that's not a bug, it's a feature. The authors who understand this aren't waiting passively. They're growing, they're learning, they're listening, they're building something. Catherine Stockett submitted her manuscript for her novel, The Help, to at least 50 different agents before one of them said yes. 50, and some of the reports even say 60. And along the way, she used every piece of feedback she got. She mined every rejection letter for even the tiniest bits of advice. She learned what wasn't working, and she refined what was. It took so long that her family and friends suggested she give up, but she kept the long game in mind. And the book she eventually published, it sold more than 15 million copies worldwide, and it was made into a movie. 50 rejections, you guys. That's what came out on the other side. Patience, patience. Now, persistence. Persistence means you keep showing up. You focus on the next right step. You don't let a rejection derail you because you understand that a rejection isn't a verdict, it's just information. Maybe the timing was off. Maybe it wasn't the right fit. Maybe the feedback you got is pointing you toward a better version of what you're building. One thing I've noticed over and over is that people who don't embrace you immediately sometimes circle back. Agents, editors, and publishers. The work you put in now, the energy and creativity you're pouring in, has a way of coming full circle. Not always on your timeline, but it comes. That's persistence. And finally, positivity. To be clear, this isn't about toxic optimism. It's about who you are becoming in the process. Because nobody wants to work with someone who's constantly negative, who finds everything wrong, who leads with bitterness or frustration. Long term, we want to be known as people others want to be around. The publishing world is smaller than it looks. Editors talk to each other, and agents will remember you. You want to show up as someone who's joyful in the work, someone who's kind to the people around them, who cares about the readers they want to serve. You want to be someone who is genuinely invested in the community, not just in your own advancement. Joanna Weaver wrote 5 books over 25 years. Her first, Having a Merry Heart in a Martha World, sold over 1 million copies, and it's still in print. Her others have been bestsellers too, and from the outside, that looks like she was an overnight success. But that's never the case. Best-selling books don't happen quickly from luck or hustle. For every book that changes lives, there's an author who planted seeds long before anyone was watching, and most of those authors have done some serious internal work along the way. Think about a book that changed your life. Got one? Notice how quickly that came to mind. And I promise you, that author was a long-term thinker. That author was willing to learn and grow. Like a tiny acorn becoming a giant oak tree, they grew into something bigger than they could have planned for. And that's what's available to you. Shift your self-talk from now or never to I either win or I learn. Play the long game. Show up to serve, not just to be seen. Ask how you can help rather than hoping someone will help you. Do that with patience, persistence, and positivity, and I promise you, the publishing journey will take you to places you haven't even dreamed of yet. So here's your invitation for this week. Take one area of your publishing journey where you've been operating from short-term thinking. Maybe it's a pitch you gave up on too fast. a manuscript you shelved after one rejection, a community you stopped showing up in, and take a look at it with long-term eyes. What's the lesson in it? What's possible if you stay patient and persistent? Now, if you want a little help getting your book publishing foundations in place so you can think long-term with clarity, I have something for you. My Book Publishing Essentials ebook is available right now on my website, alicekreider.com, and is packed with foundational knowledge you need to navigate this journey with confidence. So grab it and let it set you up for the long game. And if you're looking for a community where patience, persistence, and positivity aren't just buzzwords, they're the actual culture, come find us in the Inkwell Collective. It's a community of heart-led authors who are doing exactly this, showing up, supporting each other, and building something that lasts. You can find the link to join at alicekreider.com/Inkwell Collective. Also, I would love it if you would share this episode with a writer friend who needs to hear it. You know who I'm talking about, the one who's been discouraged lately, the one who's been wondering if their efforts are worth it. Forward it their way. That's long-term thinking too, investing in someone else's journey. And if this episode resonated with you, would you do me a favor? Leave a review wherever you're listening. It only takes a minute, and it means the world to me. It helps other heart-led authors find this podcast, which is exactly what we want. More people around here who are committed to showing up, serving well, and playing the long game. Here's a review I received recently from a writer named Cheryl. This is a fresh voice and a much-needed perspective for writers who have become weary with the push on building a platform and an online following. Authors attempting to be heard among the many other voices trying to do the same thing. I've found each episode encouraging, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Thank you so much for that one, Cheryl. Remember, everyone, you've got a story worth telling and a message to deliver. So keep learning and keep writing. Thank you for listening today, and I'll see you in the next episode.